Alright, so like I said, you have 12 questions more on your test. Number one, some of us, what we need to do before we even start is write our Pythagorean identities at the top of the page. I'm not going to be here to remind you, you just need to do that. We know the first one. What's the next one? Tangent what? Plus. Okay, what's the next one? Very good. You need to watch and be able to see them. Okay, some of you might need to write your toolkit strategies. Find a what? Common. That's one strategy. Factor is another. What's another one? Four. What's another one? You use identities. You use Pythagorean identities.
I know what the term is, but basically
Reduce to sign in. Okay. Guys, you're going to have plenty of time on your test tomorrow. You have 12 questions. Like I said, last year I had people finish it in 10 minutes. You could do the entire period. I will say this. When it comes down to Friday, what am I be more worried about, the 1 through 16 or the ACT prep? Homework. The 1 through 16. You just got to show me that you've been working on the ACT prep. You got me? Does that make sense? So if it takes you 50 minutes to do that test tomorrow, let you. Okay? But some of us, about a handful of us, need to write all this at the top of their paper. Okay? And you know if you do or not. Okay. So number one. Yeah, sine theta over tangent theta equals cosine theta. Which one looks more complicated? Okay. So sine theta, I'm going to rewrite tangent as what? Because I don't need to find a common denominator. I do not need a factor. I do not need a full. I do not need to use identity. This is reduced down to sine and cosine. So tangent can be rewritten as what? Sine over. And I put it equals. Notice I'm not putting anything on that side right there. I'm going to rewrite that as sine theta divided by sine theta over cosine theta. Sine theta, flip. And what am I left with? Is that what I wanted? So cosine theta equals cosine theta. That's when I put something on the other side. Number two. There's no fractions, so I do not need to find a common denominator. It almost looks like factoring, but they have anything in common. So I can't do factoring. Can't do full. I do not have square, so I'm going to just reduce to what? Sine and cosine. So that's going to be me 1 over. What's cosecant? 1 over sine. Now I'm going to, minus. Now, this is something I want to talk about. When we have tangent of theta and cotangent theta, do we ever use the reciprocal 1 over tan or 1 over cotan much? Now, we always usually break tan and cotan down to sine and what? The only time I would use tan and cotan is when they're side by side, but when they're side by side, you know they cancel each other out to 1, don't you? Okay. Here we go. 1 minus cosine squared theta over sine theta. So 1 minus cosine squared theta over sine, we know that this stands out to us as a Pythagorean identity. I can manipulate this one by bringing sine over. By bringing cosine over, I will get sine. So that's going to be sine squared theta over sine theta. Can I reduce that? And that leaves just a sine theta, and that's what I wanted.
What about that cosine that you took out?
What now, buddy?
What about the cosine you took out?
I did not factor anywhere. Where did you think I factored that? 1 minus cosine right here. If I manipulated this by bringing...
Maybe I just can't see very good.
Is that better?
Oh, it's cosine multiplying.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All right, number 3. Looking at number 3. Do I need to find a common denominator? Can I factor here? Yes, I will try that first because that's standing out to me. I can take a cotangent squared theta out, and that leaves a cosecant squared theta. This is gone, but what's left in front of it? 1. Now, once I do that, this stands out to me as a Pythagorean identity. Because if you look up here, how would I get cosecant theta, cosecant squared theta minus 1? By just simply moving the 1 over, wouldn't I? And what's left in its place? Cotangent. So cotangent squared theta times cotangent squared theta. What's cotangent squared times cotangent squared? Is that what I wanted? Yes. Now, number 4, I'm going to start with this side right here. Tangent squared and cosecant squared. I'm going to show you because I want to show you this one. This is going to be sine squared x over cosine squared x times 1 over sine squared x. What happens to these? I'm left with 1 over cosine squared x, which is equal to what? Secant. This is an example where you got to show both sides equal the same thing, because you're not going to get this to equal that. So what you would do is come over here. You know, I told you this is like the 10% chance where you got to show where both sides are equal to the same value. So if I start on this side, that's a Pythagorean identity, isn't it? What is that equal to? Did I just prove it by showing both sides are equal to the same value? You have one where you, there's going to be one tomorrow where you would never get the side look like this side. Well, you just got to make sure to show that both sides are equal to the same value. Does that make sense? We good over here on those? Yes.
Didn't you just change the secant squared on the left side?
Yes, but the reason I want you to do this is when I tell you, first of all, you got to prove, you don't want to do two sides at one time. You want to show one side. Like you want to say this is equal to secant over here. Just, you are, but you're taking one step at a time. Okay? Alright. Number 5. Which side do you want to start with? This might be. Number 5, which side? Let's start with right, because let's see what happens here. Tangent of theta plus cotangent. How can I break tangent down? Cotangent would be cosine over what? Sine. I'm going to find a common denominator, won't I now? What's my common denominator? Cosine, sine. You said, Mr. H, does it matter what order? No, you could have done sine, cosine. What did I multiply this by? Sine times sine is? What did I multiply this by? Cosine. So what's cosine times cosine? Now what is... What's sine squared plus cosine squared equal to? Couldn't I rewrite this as this? So that's what I do. That's my answer. We were going to do that one, but that's the exact problem on your test, so I'm going to the next one. I do have another one like that in just a minute. I'm glad I checked the test before. No, bring your stuff and come sit out here. Oh, done. Put it up here, okay? Or just put it on there and just leave it back there. There we go. Number 8, which side would you want to start here? The right. I would start with the right because that 1 minus cosine squared is standing out to me. How can I rewrite that, guys? Sine squared. Great question today. If you had 1, thank you, buddy. If I had 1 minus cosine, no square, can you just put sine x? No. It can only be 1 minus cosine squared. Do you put sine squared? Do y'all understand? Okay, now, bless you. Now, let's look at this. You said, Mr. Chester, is that? Well, yeah, because you could rewrite it as this, couldn't you? Sine over cosine times sine, because it says sine squared, doesn't it? So that right there allows you to write it as tangent x times sine x. Is that the same thing as this up here? You can do that. I want to make sure you know that you can do that. That means the same thing. Are there any questions on number 8? You do have one like number 9 here, and this is the lengthy one. This is very similar to the hard one. It's not hard, it's just time consuming. Of course, the left looks more complicated than the right. Okay? What toolkit strategy would you use? Find the what? Common denominator. What would be my common denominator here? Cosine and very good. If I multiply this denominator by cosine x, do I need to multiply the numerator? So that's going to be cosine squared. If I multiply this denominator by 1 minus sine x, do I need to multiply it up here? Okay, let's do some work here. Cosine squared x over cosine x 1 minus sine x plus, this is the denominator. I'm on 4. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times negative sine is negative sine. Negative sine times 1 is negative sine. Negative times a negative is a positive sine squared. Take a moment. Does that make sense how I got that? All good so far. I'm going to combine these like terms. This will be negative 2 sine x plus sine squared x. I cannot combine this because it's sine and sine squared. All over. Now, is it legal for me to move that sine squared over the cosine squared to get that equal to 1? Yes. I'm going to rewrite that as cosine squared x plus sine squared x plus 1 minus 2 sine x. Stopping there for questions. Do you understand what I did there? I can move that over there with cosine because that's a Pythagorean identity. What's cosine squared plus sine squared? That's 1 minus sine. Okay, 1 plus 1 is 2. I got 2 minus 2 sine x in the numerator and 1 minus sine x in the denominator. That looks very close. Pay attention. That looks very similar. What do I need to do on top? I'm going to factor it out. How'd you get that? 2 divided by 2 is 1. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. Once I do that, these cancel out. I'm left with 2 over cosine. Well, 2 over cosine will be equal to what? And that's what I wanted to prove. Are there any questions on that? Okay. You can get that worksheet out on Friday and be still working the ones that's circled for more additional practice. Yes, you need it. Raise your hand if you need this worksheet. Oh, that's right, you need it, but you don't need it anymore. You working on this to the bell rings? Do I need to sign any course registration forms? So you just start meeting your history class. Anybody's I have not signed. Okay. I don't know. I'm gonna put this on Google Classroom. Can you just your assignments on Google Classroom? Okay. Yes. Who else needs a sheet?
And I got kind of confused at the time, and so I sent a message to him, and he was like, it's not a good prank.
Yes, this is about more about first and third, so you can hear it. Yeah, career prep B would be great to pair that with.
I had it last semester. Are we going to get to these eventually, or is this for like a later class?
No, that's just sometimes that book just gives a whole lot extra.
Yeah, because they're hard.
Yes. You're good. No, you're good. What's the middle page? Oh, yes. Thank you for being honest with me. Uh-huh. Thank you for going to ACTs. Guys, can you be quiet for like 3 minutes till bell rings? Kyle, I'm sorry. So this is start on Friday. What do they want from me? What? Like,
I don't know. I guess you just sign it.
I'm just about assignment lessons on business. Are you good? Alright, just watch the rest of them go. And you know how I do my assignments. I put math, I'm 13 lesson 4, whatever that day is. And then the homework's under. You're going to have everything that you need to go for, okay? I will break and kick back in a million pieces.
Mine was broken.
I'm sorry I didn't bring a protective case in my heart. I'd like to know about the next day. Who's your master's relationship? Just ask Miss Blackman. If you want to ask Miss Blackman, you can sit there and get on the Walmart or go to the library. Sit on the little benches in the hallway and do But Kylie, you're not, I'm sorry, you're not not missing any major tests or anything where you're going to use this in one trig quiz. You're just going to be missing instruction. So just make sure that you walk through it. We're going to cover 3 lessons where you're going. We're going to have a lesson this day, a lesson this day, and still the same. So 3 lessons, okay? You're welcome. No, I'm going to the New State Math Test workshop with some other math teachers across the state. By the way, you have no written homework tonight. That worksheet is just to kill time right now and give you extra practice. All you need to do is study, know your identities, and be able to know how to verify. If you need, what I would do if you need to practice this, y'all have a seat, okay? I'm still talking. Just a moment. What I would do to practice for this test is go back and write commas on my examples of all my homework assignments and just write them down on a piece of notebook paper. And I would practice and see if you can still remember how to do that, okay? That's what I would do to study for this test. Does everybody understand? I would not get your test back Friday when I get back. There's no way I'm going to be grading these when 3 days are gone. Have I signed everybody's course? Have I? Good? Yeah, gotcha. Give me a hand signal if I've juniors, if I've taken care of your course selection sheet. Hand signal. Okay. See y'all later. See y'all Friday. See you later, buddy. You be fine on this test tomorrow. You got this. Yeah, we'll see.